Fucking right. Yeah, right. Good morning. We start in a second. For sure. For sure. Feeling so good. Good. Feeling so good. From the inside out. Better than your morning would. Feel without. Stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning. Every weekday morning. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world, using some body magic tricks to feel so good from the inside out. Not really doing nothing much else but stretching our self-awareness here and there and feeling so good and so rewarded for it. How art thou? Good morning, everybody. My name is Herbie. This is Pal Go On. Today, it is a True Love Tuesday. Before we get started, I want to say thank you, Herbie Like, for that host. I appreciate you. Anybody coming through from D Live, YouTube, or Twitch, I appreciate you coming through to hang out right now. Shout out to Felipe. Total Torso Tuesday. Pretty much as we are always bringing it back down here together to the body to feel so good, to feel better objectively. How's that even possible, Herbie? With the help of your only no-nonsense podcast brought to you through the Best Feeling Network and the help of your own body, baby, from the inside out. How art thou doing today? Are you ready for a True Love Tuesday wherever you are as we are stretching our self-awareness? Whether you are coming here through a VOD from the future, a VOD, are you a time traveler or are you here hanging out with us right now, here and now? Here in the present, are you a gift to us here in the present, hanging out right now? Are you walking the dog as we are stretching our self-awareness today? Making ourselves feel so superhuman. Are you looking outside right now? Is it bright out there? Or is it dark? Are you closing your eyes? Maybe you just woke up. Are you kicking the sheets off of the bed? Is it cold where you are? Is it loud in your head? Or maybe you're just drinking some coffee. Maybe you just drink some water. Maybe you just cooked yourself some breakfast. Maybe you just dropped some kids off at the pool and thought about hopping in to listen to Pal Go On. Whether you are here now or in a VOD, welcome to another True Love Tuesday. What day is it today? What day is it today? Say again, what day is it today? It is September 28th, 2021. 5:50 a.m. I want to thank you for joining us today for True Love Tuesday. Are you ready to not really do much, but maybe use some body tricks to feel so good from the inside out? What does that even mean, Herbie? Well, hey, I invite you. I challenge you today. Even if you're looking here at the screen and looking at me, or if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, or maybe you're thinking about looking at yourself, maybe you're looking at some trees, maybe you're just looking at somebody outside, maybe you're looking at your lover, maybe you're looking at an acquaintance, a friend, any person that you are looking at today, even if it's just me on this screen right now, if you'd like to use that, I challenge you to pretend that there is a candle in front of my lips, in front of your lips, in front of every human being's lips that you encounter today. Even if it's in your mind's eye or whatever, I challenge you to pretend that there is a lit candle about 1 to 2 inches in front of their lips, their face lips, that they're trying to not put out. And you are also trying to not put out this candle that is lit about 1 to 2 inches in front of your face lips that you are trying to not put out. And as every human being is trying to not put out this candle, I challenge you to remember that they are anchoring the tip of their tongue. The tip of their tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. To the back of the bottom front teeth. And one more challenge. As we are moving our self-awareness, do not be afraid. Do not worry if you cannot hold on to any of these at one time. It's okay to just move our self-awareness around. Shift it around and simply observe our sense of self as we lastly remember that the back 1/3 of our tongues are vertical. I challenge you today to remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical. That means up and down, folks, up and down, up and down. Up and down. Whether you are washing your car, washing your dog, or washing dishes. I challenge you today to remember that the back one third of your tongue and every human being's tongue is vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. No matter what you see in the mirror, your internal representation of yourself envisions the back one third of your tongue as being vertical, up and down, up and down. Say it with me, up and down, vertical, up and down. Say it with me, vertical, up and down, up and down, even if it's just in your head. But don't just take my word for it, ever. But how does that feel for you? To think about the back one third of your tongue being vertical, up and down, up and down. And as we stretch our self-awareness, whatever you are doing, whether you are preparing to go to work, prepared to go to school, prepared to go to bed, as we are stretching our self-awareness and doing the yawning equivalent of in our self-awareness. We bring our self-awareness back to the lit candle in front of everybody's lips that we are trying to not put out. And what is that? Just part of our design. As we switch from a visual awareness of the world to a design awareness of the world, perhaps similar to an object-oriented awareness of the world. As every human being in their design holds a candle in their awareness, about 1 to 2 inches in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. It's just flickering there. You're not thinking about exhaling. They're not thinking about inhaling. There's just a candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. It just exists there. They're not thinking about exhaling. They're not thinking about inhaling. But rather just the intention in their awareness that they're just trying to not put it out. As it's just flickering there. Not just in front of your lips, definitely in front of your lips, but also in front of my lips, in front of everybody's lips that you're talking to today. I challenge you to keep that into your awareness today, not just the candle, but also the intention of trying to not put it out. And remembering that the tongue also has an intention. What is that intention? That it wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And how does that feel for you? As we observe our sense of self, remembering that the back one third of the tongue is vertical, always, for every human being out there, not just you, but everybody too. As we are looking around and using our view to look at these humans, switching from a visual awareness of the world to a design awareness of the world. And that the design of the human being is that in their awareness, they hold this candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. And what are we doing? Perhaps creating a relationship with ourselves. Why would you want to create a relationship with yourselves? Besides the fact that it's True Love Tuesday. Why else would you like to create a relationship with thyself? So that we can create a baseline with thyself, know thyself, to know anything about ourselves. To know anything at all about ourselves, we baseline ourselves, literally creating a relationship with ourselves as we know more of where our tongue likes to sit in the mouth, just the same way you would know your favorite person's favorite place to chill in your house. Are they always there? No, but how does it feel when they are there? How does it feel when your tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? No matter what you are doing, no matter whether you are speaking, no matter whether you are diving, no matter whether you are swimming, wherever you are. Today, on True Love Tuesday, we'll be talking about how wedding rings are stupid. On Palgawan, as we were always discussing, perhaps misconceptions placed into us by society and perhaps concepts that, I don't know, might be a little difficult without a little bit of candle in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out. A little bit of guided breathing that the back one third of our tongue is vertical. Are wedding rings stupid? I don't know. Are wedding rings stupid? Wedding rings are stupid. There's no way that something on your finger that you touch all the time could remind you of a commitment that you made as easily as looking at a keychain with Snoopy on it would remind you of Charlie Brown. There's no way. There's no way that it creates such guidance in your life. There's no way There's no way. It's definitely just a societal construct. There's no way something physical on your body could ever remind you of something like your favorite cartoon, like feeling Snoopy on your keychain. There's just absolutely no way. We'll be right back to talk about that on Padawan. Please remember to place a candle in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out. Remember that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And despite what society's always telling us, as we are breaking down societal constructs and societal misconceptions about the self, as we are breaking down misconceptions of ourselves, we are also remembering that the back 1/3 of our tongue is vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. As we are re-examining the re-examinations that society has poured into us since we were children, we'll be right back to talk about wedding rings. Are they stupid? We'll talk about wedding rings are stupid. We'll be right back on Padawan. Why might you need to know that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical? To fall in love? To make sure that you are experiencing true love on True Love Tuesday? Why is it that you might need to know that the tip of our tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? Why would we need to know that there is a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out? As we are leaving our swallowing muscles alone and observing our sense of self, why are these things necessary in order to achieve true love on True Love Tuesdays, as we always do? As we all know that the love True love is not some emotional crap, but rather the truth without hatred, the truth without anger. Well, first of all, we must have a relationship with ourselves to have a comparison with ourselves. What do you mean a comparison with ourselves? I compare myself all the time. Look at my clothes. Are they better today than they were yesterday? Wow, look at my hair. Isn't it better today than yesterday? Wow, aren't I so great compared to that other person over there? We need a relationship with ourselves, which requires a baseline. Otherwise, what are you looking at? In science, what you need is a control in an experiment. An unaffected part of the experiment in which everything else can be related to, so that you can understand the changes and variations in the experiment. Same way in our body. In that amazing window to this godlike experience that you are, wherever you are, whether you are driving or in a car, or whether you are driving or maybe you're just drinking at a bar. Maybe we're hanging out with the friends. What's up, friends? Or maybe you're just hanging out alone. Hey, how are you? Knock, knock. It's DiGiorno. Wherever you are, having a relationship with thyself to give yourself a baseline. For comparison's sake, how do you know? How do you know how we are doing in this body? Are we, wherever you are, whenever thou art, are we not just thrust into this body, into this window, to this godlike experience that we are? We spend our whole lives doing who knows what, pointing to all sorts of different directions. If someone asks you where your shoulder is, if someone asks you where your hip is, if someone asks you where the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to, if someone asks you what the back of your tongue feels like, we'd get all sorts of different answers. There's no instruction manual for us to be living this life, let alone to be loving another person. What the heck do we know about life? Love? What the heck do we know about love? We barely know our own bodies. Yet we have so much domain over what is going to be good for us involving the life of another person. Seems to me this is all about what I need, not so much about what love actually is. We understand we have a need for love, as in our internal spirit desires for this feeling of love, and yet we make no attempt to assume its object on the outside world of where we are receiving. What is giving us this love? How can we know any of those love things as we are only orienting towards our inner bodies? And guess what? We don't have all the same idea of what the inner body's doing. The tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front's teeth. The back 1/3 of the tongue wants to be vertical, up and down. Best believe, no matter where you go around town, that there is a candle placed right there in front of a smile or a frown. A candle placed in front of every human being, whether they're standing or lying down. They're trying to not put it out. They're not thinking about exhaling. They're not thinking about inhaling. But they're simply trying to not put it out. And that is the design of the human being as we get closer and closer to discovering it. Knowing ourselves. Knowing what the selves want to do. For once. As in, was there ever an instruction manual? We're all looking for this love thing on this spiritual side, on this inside, on True Love Tuesdays. We're all looking for this love thing, casting aside things like wedding rings, for we did not feel or understand their significance. How could we feel or understand their significance when we feel and understand the significance of life in completely different ways? How do we know this? Well, what is the design of a human being? Where's the shoulder? Where did the tip of the tongue want to be anchored to? Where's the back 1/3 of the tongue wanting to be hung like vertical, up and down? As the body experiences feelings like from the outside world, emotions hitting its body, where is the body placing its weight? Where is it allowing to flush these feelings? Are we not affecting our bodies in different ways? And so are we not experiencing different moments? Or are we not experiencing the same moments in different ways, such as our awareness is on completely different parts of our bodies that may or may not be encouraging a better breath or a worse breath, which, because in our simulation in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath, don't you know that the breath is defining how your spirit is feeling? Not some Casper spirit, guys, but your energy and your attitude and your awareness and your mental health all being affected by your ability to breathe. Why? Because you die every 5 minutes, man. Except that timer is reset with a breath you take, meaning every breath you take is the most important thing to you, more important than water, more important than food, more important than sleep, more important than, yes, sex, my friends, even the sex, more important than even that, if you can fathom. Your breath, so very important. And so when we have a better connection when we have a better relationship with our bodies and its relationship with itself, as in, as your body breathes, as it exhales, as you die every 5 minutes, but that timer is being reset with that breath, is that breath being done with a proper copacetic relationship with itself, as in the tip of the tongue is going to where it wants to be when you inhale and tip of the tongue stays where it wants to be when you exhale? Or is there some kind of conflict happening in your body because of some kind of subconscious relationship with your body in which you want to maintain a certain posture to look proper? Is that preventing you from getting the breath that you want? Is that preventing you from improving the life in the way that you want? Is that preventing you from improving the relationship with you and yourself in that moment in the way that you want? And we need comparison now, as no one tells us how to live in this body, so this love thing must be as clean as it possibly can. How can it go as clean as we possibly can? How can we compare to anyone else's experience unless our awareness is possibly on the same things? And our body are these machines. What if we put our awareness on this? What if we put our awareness on the same things and see how that feels for you? Wedding rings are stupid. As we reach the pinnacle of our show, as usual, we will get to the pinnacle of the show, the topic of the show. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Sit down, sit down, sit down. Wedding rings are stupid. Why do we need to create this relationship with ourselves? Because if wedding rings are stupid, don't we need a relationship with ourselves to understand what the heck we're talking about? Relationship with ourselves so that we can be forever unconditionally loved by ourselves, so that we don't need to seek it in anybody else. And isn't that the only way to make sure that we can actually give ourselves to somebody else? Is if we feel like we can have love for ourselves forever from the inside, so no one else can take that away from you. Otherwise, what we are giving to this other person, is that not just out of need, out of desperation, not out of love, out of fear of not getting what I want? Don't we need to be completely loved from the inside, unconditionally, to even begin loving somebody else? What do you mean wedding rings are stupid? Why might society be saying that? We'll talk right back about that right after this break. Right after this, as we know, we need that unconditional love from the inside, baby. We'll be right back after this short break. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. World peace through individual inner peace. Waking the worlds up physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Welcome to another True Love Tuesday. It is September 28, 2021. Can you believe it? 6:15 a.m. Thank you for joining us, whether you are on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, whether you came from Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter. Thank you so much for coming through. Or whether you are just a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend or a friend, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for coming through. My name is Herbie, and this is Absolutely How Go On. As we are always breaking down misconceptions, common misconceptions, and just talking about them, but actually using some actionable words. Actionable, as in, I challenge you today to pretend with me, no matter what you are doing, whether you are writing in your journal right now, whether you are drinking water, whether you are drinking orange juice, whether you are turning on a light or installing a light, or whether you are walking or sitting down or studying or laying back. I challenge you today to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. It's like 1 or 2 inches, a flickering candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. You're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling during this. You're just thinking about the candle, and you're trying to not put it out. As you remember that the tip of your tongue is anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, and observe your sense of self. To do a body magic trick, remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical, up and down. Say it with me, even if it's just in your head. Up and down, up and down, up and down. As you're remembering to not put this candle out in front of your lips, you're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling. As you remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue is, say it with me, up and down, up and down. The back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical. Say it with me. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And how does that feel for you? As we hear a lot about breathing, as we hear a lot about sleep apnea in studies these days, a lot asking you to invest your emotionality into it without actually inviting you to a passageway towards investing yourself. A pathway like the pathway from the tip of your tongue to the back of the bottom front teeth in which your tongue wants to be anchored to. Are we doing anything crazy here? No, we're just kind of just stretching our self-awareness a little bit onto the proper truisms about our bodies and seeing how it feels for you to realign, to reorder to the proper alignment of your body. As we know, we need that forever love from the inside out, unconditional love, truth without hatred. So as you know, knowing that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical is loving yourself in the best possible way you could love yourself. In that knowing yourself to allow yourself to overcome this moment and overcome the next moment. As your body's relationship with the truisms of itself allow itself to overcome suffering from the inside world that might be affecting you, whether that be disappointment, anger, resentment, laziness, humiliation, heartbreak, whatever it might be. Improving the relationship with the back 1/3 of the tongue being vertical, or any other truisms, the candle being in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out. We're not thinking about exhaling, we're not thinking about inhaling. Improving the relationship with ourselves in order to flush out any negative feelings in the spirit. Improving this relationship with ourselves in order to feel better. Through it all, through and through, from the inside out. Whether that be pain from disappointment in yourself or whether that come from pain of heartbreak of another person. Would the heartbreak of another person ever stop the back 1/3 of your tongue from being vertical? Isn't the tip of your tongue always wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, whether or not you got that raise? Whether or not your parents called you back? Does that affect the fact that they and yourself also hold a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? Whether you're thinking about not exhaling or thinking about non-inhaling? No. For which those are all part of your design. Those are all which are always with you. They were there before you. This you before you, this part of your design that was before you, this conscious version of you that chooses to do that likes this, that wants to be appeased by that likes this food. This version of you has a version that came before you. And getting to know it happens to be the fantastic way to overcome all that crap you want to. How would we love somebody? Well, as we know, we cannot love nobody else until we have that forever love on the inside, from the inside out. Why is that? Is that just because that forever love on the inside is just feeling so good? And so you want that all the time? Well, maybe. Do we not change when we get upset? When we feel threatened as if the person that we invest all of our time is leaving or feeling as though they may be gone from our lives on True Love Tuesdays? It's just so funny to discover it, right? You need that forever love on the inside to give somebody any kind of love. Otherwise, you're playing a needs game, as we talked about last week. As we talked about last week on Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, fear. And last week on Thursday and Friday, like all of last week was themed around this strength that you need, this strength you need from this inside. as when we feel like we do not have the strength to overcome all things, including heartbreak from this person in which we seem to be apprehending at the moment, or courting, or whatever you call that, or perhaps you're already married, or perhaps you're divorced, wherever thou art, whenever thou art. With those with love interests in mind, when we do not feel ready to overcome all things, including the heartbreak that they might thrust upon you, are we not holding back everything from them for this fear? Unless we feel like we can conquer all things, known and unknown, do we not live a life of needs games? Are we not placing into other people the responsibility of our peace? Do we not put our peace in the responsibility of other people? And are people able to handle that peace when we ourselves are unable to even know ourselves, to even know what this love thing is that we so seem to desire? Can we seem to place that trust into someone else, something that we cannot seem to trust in ourselves, this ability to attain peace? Can we place our ability to attain peace within another person when in and of ourselves we are unable to find peace? How could we find peace within ourselves when we had no idea with what ourselves were? The back 1/3 of our tongues were not perceived as being vertical, while simultaneously the tip of our tongues were wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, to open up that frontal breathing cavity, as we pretend that there's a candle in front of our lips that we are trying to not put out. This relationship with ourselves, in order to get peace on True Love Tuesday, in order to have peace from within, in order to have any kind of love for anybody else, we must have peace from the inside. Without that peace, what you are doing for everybody else is always fighting for thyself, for thyself would never have peace without nobody else. So everything is always done to make sure that people stay around, whether it is right for them or whether it is wrong for them. Why? Because we don't have that forever love from the inside. What is that forever love with the inside? A relationship with yourself. What do you mean, Herbie, a relationship with yourself? I do 5 nice things for myself every day, like the podcast tell me to. I clean my back the same way that the podcast tells me to. I call friends every day and tell them something nice about them. That's how much I love myself. I have a relationship with myself. Oh yeah? Where's the tip of the tongue want to be anchored to, huh? Where's the tip of your tongue want to be anchored to, huh? Relationship. What's the back 1/3 of your tongue feel like, huh? Did you remember that there's a candle in front of everybody's lips that they're trying to not put out today, and that they're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling, huh? A relationship with ourselves first, in order to have peace in ourselves. To begin loving anybody on True Love Tuesday. Wedding rings are stupid. Wedding rings are stupid. Why might society be telling us that wedding rings are stupid? As we talked about on Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, fear. Truth Hurts Tuesday, Generation Victims. When we feel like we cannot get, we reject. When we feel like we cannot get, we reject. When we feel like we cannot get, we reject. A society devoid of love, so it rejects love. A society devoid of relationship with itself, so it rejects love. We'll be right back to talk about wedding rings are possibly stupid. We'll be right back on Padawan. Please remember, there's a candle in front of your lips, and everybody's lips that they're trying to not put out. Observe that sense of self. Your body is everything. Your body is everything. It is the world. It is everything you know. I am also my thoughts. I'm my emotions. I'm my ideas. Those all come from your body. Your body is everything. Your brain exists in your body. Your heart is part of your body. Your hands are part of your body, which means your work that you do is because of your body, which means that the ideas that you have come from the body. Your body is everything. Your relationship with your mind and body are hardly separate. Your body is everything. Your body is your mind. Your thinking, your creativity is a very complex structure, but includes your body. As the bottom back right heel of yours might be hurting, and although you may be focused on this math problem at school or at work, although your vision may be clouded by this paper that's in front of you that you're working on, the back right heel of yours, part of your body, can still be thrust into your awareness and change your ideas just like that. Possibly affecting them in a good way. Possibly adding perspective to what you might not have had otherwise. Your body is everything. Society, the world right now, does not understand the body, so they want to convince you that the body is not everything. The body is everything. Society right now doesn't understand how to feel the body, how to create a relationship with the self, so it wants to convince you that there is no body, there is no self, there is no relationship of the self that you could possibly work on. Society doesn't feel the self. Society doesn't have a relationship with the self because it doesn't understand how to feel the body or the self, so it wants to convince you that to do the same. It wants to convince you that there is no such thing as having a relationship with yourself, having a relationship with your body. But we know that you can, as in you can be further away from the tip of your tongue, wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, or it can feel very familiar to you. And how does your spirit feel to you when you apply that? Society does not have the proper ideas of the human body ordered properly, such that to think that every human being shares these ideas, shares these design, that the back 1/3 of our tongue is vertical, up and down, vertical, up and down, up and down. We want to talk all about surgery around the world. We want to talk about all about this medicine, fantastic medicine that can help human beings far and wide, yet don't want to coincide on our ideas of how we are designed, which is that the candle exists in front of every human being's lips that they're trying to not put out. They're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling, but we are all commonly intentioned to have a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. We want to talk about how humans are so fantastically similar. And we show this through action by creating medicine that affects humans far and wide. Therapy that affects humans far and wide. Diagnoses that can affect humans far and wide. Yet we do not want to agree that we are all similar in how we might act and how we might want to behave, and how our bodies might want to behave, on how our bodies might be in relationship with itself. We want to invent medicine and invent language and create all sorts of uniting, quote unquote, technologies, yet do not want to commit to the whole idea that we are perhaps all united underneath one design, which is that perhaps we all have a candle in front of our lips and we all have a tongue that has a design, which is the back 1/3 of the tongue wants to be vertical and the tip of it wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. We talk a lot about diversity. We talk a lot about unification in the world, using statistics, using language, using medicine, in which medicine would not work should we not have similar designs. or at least medicine would not work far and wide if humans were not similarly designed. We want to act in the world in a way that we are similarly designed. And yet abandon the idea that we perhaps are similarly designed on the inside, in which we want to do. In which we want to receive love as much as our tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And our bodies, which want to have a relationship with itself, in that your hand does not always feel at the center of your focus. However, it always is part of your body. And sometimes, just like if your hand hits a table, there might be a scar on your hand, there might be a wound on your hand, and so your hand feels more pointed, more separate in your awareness. However, it is always still part of your hand. We choose to have our awareness move around. Perhaps we want to ignore this effect on our hand. And we can choose to move our awareness, but it is always part of our body. Our hand is always part of us. Why might society say that wedding rings are stupid? What we cannot get, we reject, and with no relationship with ourselves, how can we get to understand anything about commitment in a good way? Isn't commitment always a bad thing? Should we not have a relationship with ourselves? As in, a relationship with ourselves, as in, I am better today than I am yesterday. I have a better relationship with the tip of my tongue being anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth today than earlier. And how does it feel to continue to increase this relationship, to strengthen this relationship with thyself? How does it feel to improve the relationship with the back 1/3 of our tongue being vertical? How does it feel to remember that the tip of everybody's tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? How does it feel to remember that my body? How does it feel to remember that your body wants to pretend that there's a candle in front of its lips that it's trying to not put out? And it doesn't want to think about exhaling. It doesn't want to think about inhaling. It just wants to pretend that there's a candle in front of its lips that it's trying to not put out. How does it feel to improve the relationship with yourself, to know that? The same way you would improve your relationship with somebody to know their favorite drink at the coffee shop. How does it feel to improve the relationship with thyself, to remember that thyself pretends that there's a candle in front of its lips to feel so good that it's trying to not put out? How could society, how could the world have any good idea of commitment when the commitment to the self never brought about anything good? How could society itself have any idea that weddings as a whole, marriage as a whole, how could society or people in the world believe that any kind of commitment, any kind of strengthened relationship could ever be a good thing when it was impossible to improve or strengthen the relationship with thyself? First and foremost, which is what wanted the relationships to begin with, which is what wanted the commitments, which is what wanted the goods that came out of commitments to begin with. Wedding rings are stupid. Weddings are stupid. Marriages are stupid. How could society, how could our friends, how could our families, how could the zeitgeist, as in how could the common thoughts in the world, how could the common line of thinking in the world think that commitment would ever be a good thing when the commitment to the self, the relationship to the self, could never be improved? Time and time again, we failed, hitting our heads against the walls, not understanding what we were doing wrong to make ourselves feel better. Not knowing what we were doing wrong when we couldn't realize that the tip of our tongues wanted to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. When every time we got anxious, we could not remember that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. When we did not remember to observe our sense of self by pretending that there was a candle in front of our lips and allow that sensation to travel around our body, pretending that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. And we weren't thinking about exhaling or thinking about inhaling. Without remembering those parts of our relationships with ourselves, how could we believe that commitment to any kind of relationship would be any kind of a good thing when our relationship with ourselves, no matter how committed we were to making ourselves feel better, was always met with disappointment? When we are not given instructions on how to behave in this body, on what to put our awareness in this body, when we are not given instructions on how to create a relationship with our body, with ourselves, with our ability to overcome from the inside, how could we believe that any kind of relationship anywhere else would ever be a beneficial thing, an improvement? Instead, we were disappointed every time with this relationship with ourselves. We had no direction on how to improve the relationship with ourselves. When things go awry and we wanted to feel better for ourselves, we know that, hey, in this moment, if I just relax, if I just stay in the cool, if I stay in the now, I know that I will do great. And when we could not do that, were we not met with disappointment with the relationship with ourselves? Why could I not breathe well? Why could I not just stay calm? Why could I not just say this? Why could I not just say that? Does our relationship with ourselves become more and more tarnished, more and more disappointed as we feel that the tip of our tongue is not wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? The back 1/3 of the tongue is not vertical up and down. Isn't it becoming harder to create that relationship with ourselves? Weddings are stupid. Marriages are stupid. Wedding rings are stupid. Perhaps. Perhaps we don't see any kind of commitment as ever sort of a good thing, as our commitment to the relationship with even ourselves has never been met with success. Maybe we see all commitments as failures, as our commitment to ourselves was failed, but no longer. As we pretend that there's a candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning wood. Feel without. Please allow all of these words to go in one ear and out the other. And if you would, join me in saying it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Marriages are dumb. Weddings are stupid. Wedding rings are stupid. In a society in which we had no relationship, no success in committing to the relationship with ourselves, no wonder we view all commitments to all relationships as a joke, as the only one that mattered to us never seemed to pull through. Please pretend that there's a candle with me in front of everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out, as we are leaving our swallowing muscles alone, not thinking about exhaling or inhaling, as we are committing to this relationship with ourselves and seeing it improve over time. As it's always there for you, even before you want to be there for you. And strengthening this relationship only improves over time. Might other relationships look the same afterwards? Please remember that the back 1/3 of our tongues are vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. Say it with me, even if it's just in your head. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And remember that the tip of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, everybody. Feel the front of your shins. And we will see you tomorrow to give you some spiritual armor on Warfare Wednesday. I want to thank you for joining anyone here right now or in the future in Abad. Anyone on Twitch, YouTube, D-Live, I mean on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, friends, friend of a friend. You're hella washing dishes. I want to thank Damp Squid for those lemons on D-Live. I want to thank Ivan Loquendero for that follow on D-Live. Kentucky Boy 88 for that interesting comment. It seems he's got some gaseous issues. We hope you're doing well out there. Let's feel superhuman and get ready for Warfare Wednesday tomorrow. It is September 28, 2021, 6:46 a.m. We will see you here tomorrow. My name is Herbie. Good morning, everyone. Hope you have a fantastic day. Take it easy. Anchor the tip of the tongue to the back of the bottom front teeth. Thank you, Felipe.